Hi, my name's Rod, and I want to share with you some projects I've been working on at UnitedTaps.com. Now the first one, you may notice, that logo on the wall and this logo on my t-shirt, I'll zoom in here, are not exactly the same. Well, my wife worked with me to help redesign UnitedTaps.com from the logo to the web page design, a little bit of navigation design, all different things with the website and the new logo. So if you haven't been to UnitedTaps.com in a while, you might want to check it out. We got a brand new look. This sign I made myself. This was the old logo, and unfortunately you can't buy wood in the shape of a tap to make a new sign, so I'm going to have someone make it for me. So I have to find someone to do that and then get it made. So for now I'm going to leave the old logo up. So if you're wondering why these don't match, that's why, but the one on the t-shirt is the new logo. Now another project I've been working on, and now this is not anything new, so to say. A lot of tappers have done this long before I have. I just want to share with you my experience and how I did it, and maybe you want to do this yourself, and if so, maybe I can save you some time and headache. What we got here, I know it looks like a standard pair of tennis shoes, but they're actually have been converted to tap shoes. All right, and I just bought a standard pair of Nikes. Now I bought a flat a shoe with a flat bottom. I didn't want the runner's shoe that curves up on the toe, because then the tap's not going to lay flat. Now the whole reason why did I even do this in the first place? Well, the Capizio tennis shoe taps that I use don't have much arch support. They have a cutout for the arch, but there's almost nothing supporting the arch of your foot in there. It's almost all just cloth, and I think that's been causing foot problems. So I figured if I go to a shoe with a solid bottom all the way through, I'll have a little bit more support, and I'm finding that mostly to be true so far. Now, I'll talk about how I got the taps on in a moment, but you're already noticing there's tape across here. Now you're probably thinking, Rod, have you already torn these apart so bad that you need tape? No. One downside to getting a shoe with this kind of tread, I'll zoom in a little bit there, is when you watch a basketball game and you hear them like stop and you hear that squeak sound? Well, this tread causes that squeak big time. So this piece of tape right across here keeps me from squeaking every time I step. Otherwise it'd be like squeak, 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 which is not a good thing. So that's all the reason the tape is there, is to prevent squeaking. These are my first try at this, so if I got another shoe, I would probably get a different kind of sole. I'd still want one flat, but I try to find one with a material that doesn't squeak. I don't know how I would test that though. But ideally, that's what I would be looking for. Okay, so the real question everyone wants to know is, how did you get the taps on the shoe? Now in this case I used 1-screw taps. That was also a mistake, although I kind of knew it at the time. I wanted to test it with 1 screw first before I did a 3-screw tap. The 1-screw taps rotate, as you can see. Well, these ones are actually fairly well aligned, but they do rotate a little bit. You might be able to see here in the video that little bit of tape sticking out right there. That's a rolled up piece of Gorilla Tape that I shoved up under the tap to prevent it from spinning, and I have it in this tap too. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there. Yeah, you can see it. See that? I put some tape in there. Now I could glue it. I could put some really heavy duty glue and that would probably keep it from spinning, although I was planning on taking these taps off and putting a tap that has 3 screw holes in it to replace it. Now when I talk about the 3-screw taps, there's different kinds on your, like Capizio CG55s. I think it's 55, it used to be 509, whatever. The basic cheap one, the screw holes are almost all the way on the edge. I don't think that would work good for this particular application. On the tennis shoe taps, however, I don't think they make them anymore, unfortunately. But the 3-screw taps, like I have an older pair, the screws are closer to the middle of the tap, which would be perfect for this application. But can you do it with 1 screw? Sure. Put the 1 screw in and put some glue. Well, the question you're going to ask, well, how do I get the taps on here in the first place, and do they stay? To answer the second question, do they stay? Well, I've had these on here, I'm on my 2nd week now. Is that very long? No. And already I'm concerned that this toe tap, you can see it right here, it's got a lot of flex there. I'm concerned it's going to rip right out of the shoe. It hasn't happened yet. Part of that is the way that I didn't do this so well. You can see how the tap sticks out. If I had made that tap a little bit more flush, and I tried to, I really did, it's harder than it looks. Had I made that tap more flush with the front, I don't think it would be pulling away as bad, because there wouldn't be as much direct pressure. So how are they staying after 2 weeks? They're staying okay. How long do I think they're gonna last before they come off or rip apart? I don't know. I'd say I'll probably at least get a month. From there, it's really anybody's guess. Maybe I could go a whole year, maybe it's gonna be a month and a day and they're gonna rip apart. Some challenges I had as well, as you can see in the tap here, it does not go to the edge of the shoe. That makes wings really hard because when I want to scrape out on the side, I've got so much rubber here, I don't get much sound. I tried to find the most narrow shoe that I could. My feet are huge. I've got size 13s, so it's really hard to find a narrow shoe that can that the tap can go to the edge. What I'm planning on doing at some point is either cutting this off or shaving it down at least a little bit at an angle. I can't cut it all the way off or I'm going to lose, I can't pull the whole rubber off the shoe, but if I can at least shave some of it from the side here, cut a little bit of that edge, I could probably get more contacts. If you have large feet and you're a guy, you might have that problem as well. Heel tap doesn't go quite to the edge. As you can see, again, it's hard to position these. It really is when you drill the hole to put them in. But even being this far in, I have no problems making heel sounds on the edge of my heel whatsoever. So the heel is working out quite well. No problems there. The toe is working out okay. Not as great. If I shave this down, it'll probably work better. So I apologize, that's a little tangent there. Now the question again, how do you get these taps on your shoe? Now some people glue them, and I'll admit, before I screwed anything in, I tried to glue the taps on. I used Gorilla Glue, and I tried epoxy, and they don't work for me. Maybe it's the rubber, or maybe it's just that I'm so hard on the shoe, the taps fall off. It doesn't work. So I needed to find a way to screw them in. So that's what I'm going to show you now. I'll show you my parts here. First thing is called a T-nut. See this little thing? It's a T-nut. It's got the little grippers on it, or the little spikes, and it's got a hole in it. I want you to see that hole, and that hole's got threads in it. Right? So this is called a T-nut. Now, believe it or not, a lot of the one-screw taps, I don't know if they make them still, I think they're starting to make them again, have a T-nut already built into the shoe. But you can actually go and buy these at a hardware store. There's a T-nut. And now I'm going to give you, show you, this is just a basic, what do they call it? I got the packages so I can tell you. It's called a flathead slotted bolt, crown bolt, machine bolt. Just a basic little bolt there. You can see them. Now I'm going to show you the packages when I'm done so you know, hey Rod, what size did you use and what's the code and all that, blah, 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 blah. So it's real simple. This T-nut goes into the bottom of your shoe. It goes in from where your foot goes in. And then you put the tap on and then you screw the tap on like that. And that screws right into the top of the T-nut. I'll show you on my shoe. But before I do that, let me go ahead and show you this, the parts. Now the T-nut, you got here number 6-32/1/4 inch. You can see the packaging. That should help you find that, okay? You get a package of 4, I already pulled one out. Don't get the bigger size, I tried that, and the screw was too big to fit through the tap, so that didn't work. Now here's that little machine bolt thing, you know, number 6, number 32/3/8. You may need to get a longer one. On one of my taps, I had to use a longer one. So if you have a shoe with a thicker sole, you're gonna need a longer bolt. So instead of 3/8, maybe you get a 1/2 inch. Right here on the side, see it says 3/8 inch. You might need to get a 1/2 inch or 5/8 or something like that. And then it's like a whole pack of them. These ones come with the bolts too. I didn't really use those. I just used the little, I mean, they come with the nuts and I just use the bolts in those. So that's what the package looks like. Now, how do you get that in your shoe? Well, let me explain this to you here. Pull out my Dr. Scholl's. Pull out my bottom pad. Now, it's going to be a little hard to see in there. But if you look in the center there, you can see where I kind of, sorry, the shadowing's kind of tricky. There we go. Where I drilled a hole and then put a T-nut. You can't actually, to be honest, you can't see it very well because it's shoved down in there so deep. But I drilled a hole through the bottom of the shoe. Actually, before I did that, I put the tap over the shoe, placed it exactly where I wanted it, and then took a little marker and marked in the hole where I wanted it to go. Then I drilled right through that hole. Now you'd think with all that the tap would have been accurately placed, but it's still, the way the rubber is on the bottom of the shoe, it's hard to get a real accurate reading. Then I drilled a hole. The problem is when you drill through rubber, it's kind of flexible. So when you drill a hole through wood, when you take the drill out, you can see the hole is perfect. When you do that through rubber, the rubber kind of closes back in around the hole. So you have to kind of poke the drill through it a whole bunch of times, and you have to, I got some little pliers and ripped a little bit of the rubber out. It's kind of a messy process. It's not, you don't just drill a hole and ta-da, it's a beautiful circular hole. You have to pick at it and get an opening big enough to shove that T-nut in, and you put the tap on and put that little bolt in right into here, tie it together, and voila, you got it. So that's exactly how you do it. How does it sound? Well, for me, this has been incredible because my tennis shoe taps were really dull. And part of that's because I had them on tight, and these are as tight as I can get them, but it's still not the same as when you have your taps really, really tight. So the tennis shoe taps I thought were really dull, the heel sounds were really weak. With these shoes, my taps are much, much louder. In fact, my kids that I teach were all like, whoa, those are a lot louder, maybe even too loud, Ron. Which, you know, that's okay. I don't mind. Too loud's okay. Too soft, that's a problem. So I'm going to put them on right now. And how do they feel? They feel pretty good. Could I kind of tell there were taps on them from inside the shoe? Could I kind of feel that there was a tap underneath there and a little T-nut? Yeah, I kind of could on the heels. Not a ton, but I definitely could kind of feel it. I went ahead and added an extra Dr. Scholl's cushiony insert, and that has helped a lot. Right now, I don't really notice that I have them in anymore. I've gotten used to them. Do I feel like my whole foot's supported? Yeah, I do, much better. Is it weird not being up higher on the heels? Not for me, not at all. I haven't really noticed any problem with that whatsoever. So I'll zoom in on the feet and kind of see how they work. Toe stands, you know, plus and minus on those. Pardon the camera movement here. Need to get a foot shot. And I know you see that other board there. We're going to talk about that here in a minute too. Like I said, toe stands, kind of, we'll talk about those, but you know, I'll just do some couple step heels. You know, step heel. Yeah, listen how loud the stomp is. Alright. They work pretty good. No problems there. Toe stands, I'll do a couple of different angles. They work, but it's a little funky. Heel stands, now you're going to be like, oh my goodness, your heel tap's coming off right, like when I do heel stand. Especially if you look from the side, I put my weight on my heel, it looks like the heel's coming up. Don't worry, it's not. It looks like it, but it's not really a problem. So, those are my new tennis shoe taps.